Have you ever walked away from a conversation thinking, why did I let them get to me? Replaying every word, every tone, every look. Some people just know how to push your buttons. They interrupt, they insult, they act like your presence is disposable. And somehow, even if you promised yourself you'd stay calm this time, you react anyway. You raise your voice, you defend yourself. You feel your chest tighten, your pulse rise, your mind spin. But here's the truth. Calm isn't something you're born with. It's something you build, moment by moment, choice by choice. And when you do, no one, not the aggressive coworker, not the disrespectful stranger, not even the people closest to you, can take your peace unless you hand it to them. In this video, we're not going to talk about avoiding difficult people. That's impossible. We're going to break down how to master your inner world so deeply that no one on the outside can shake it. You'll learn how to respond instead of react, how to speak with presence instead of pressure, and how to carry a calm so solid that it changes the energy in every room you walk into. If you've ever lost your cool and regretted it, or stayed quiet but felt small, this is for you. And if something I say today hits home, don't hesitate to drop your thoughts in the comments. I read every single one. Subscribe if you're serious about building unshakable emotional strength. Now let's get to it. 1. Reclaim your power from reaction. How to control what controls you. There's a moment most men know all too well, the split second after someone disrespects you, mocks you, or questions your worth. Your chest tightens, your jaw locks, your mind prepares a sharp reply. You're not thinking, you're reacting. And in that instant, without even realizing it, you've handed your peace over to someone else. The truth is, we've been conditioned to respond with heat, to fight back, defend. But that reflex, that automatic reaction, is not strength. It's a habit, a survival pattern you picked up years ago and never questioned. The real power isn't in the comeback, it's in the pause. Because that pause is where emotional self-control begins. That's the gap between being ruled by others and ruling yourself. When someone gets under your skin, it's easy to think they caused your anger. But the Stoics would say otherwise. They'd remind you, the outside world can provoke, but it cannot penetrate unless you let it. What really controls you is not what's said, but what you believe about what's said. If you take every insult personally, every disagreement as a threat, every tone as a verdict on your worth, you'll be forever at the mercy of other people's moods. And make no mistake, there will always be someone ready to test your patience, someone who brings emotional chaos into the room and invites you to match it. That's the trap. They don't just want your reaction, they need it to validate their own chaos. But when you stay still, when you don't flinch, when you respond with calm instead of retaliation, something powerful happens. They lose control, not you. You shift the balance of energy. You reclaim your power. I remember a time during a family dinner when my younger brother snapped at me. Just a sharp comment, but it cut deep. Everything in me wanted to fire back, to win the moment. But I paused. I took a breath. I looked at him and said, "Is there something you need me to hear?" And just like that, the dynamic changed. He softened. I stayed anchored. I didn't lose myself in trying to win. That's not weakness, that's clarity. That's the kind of emotional discipline most men never train. And without it, we become walking reaction machines, angry, defensive, exhausted. Every conversation feels like a battlefield. Every disagreement becomes personal. Every challenge becomes an attack. But when you master the pause, you begin to lead. You start making decisions from intention, not impulse. You begin to see that calm isn't passive, it's deliberate. It's a decision you make to protect your energy and preserve your presence. That's what emotional self-mastery looks like. It's not about being cold or distant. It's about being clear. It's about being so rooted in who you are that no one else gets to rewrite your story in the heat of the moment. You don't need to shout to be heard. You don't need to react to prove you're strong. True strength lies in restraint. And it starts with training. The next time someone tries to provoke you, don't rush. Don't explain. Don't perform. Just stop. Count to 3. Let their words hang in the air without giving them fuel. Observe the urge to react, but don't obey it. In that moment, you are reclaiming your freedom. You are choosing a response over a reflex. Control over chaos. You are becoming the thermostat, not the thermometer. The one who sets the emotional tone, not the one who absorbs it. This is how you protect your mind. This is how you lead your life. And most importantly, this is how you rise above the noise. Not by overpowering others, but by mastering yourself first. 2. Calm is a skill, not a trait. Why you must train it daily. Most people assume that calmness is a personality trait. You're either born with it or you're not. But that belief is the first reason why so many men remain trapped in cycles of overreaction, frustration, and emotional burnout. The truth is, calm isn't a gift. It's not coded into your DNA. It's a skill. And like any skill, it can be trained or neglected. What separates the man who stays composed under fire from the one who explodes over minor inconvenience isn't temperament. It's training. Just like physical strength doesn't appear overnight, emotional strength is forged in repetition. But most men never do the reps. They say things like, "I've always had a short fuse," or "I just can't help it." But that's not the truth. That's a habit disguised as identity. What they're really saying is, "I've never trained my mind to respond differently." And the cost of that neglect shows up everywhere. It shows up in relationships where one angry word can undo months of trust. It shows up at work when pressure rises and you either panic or lash out. It shows up in your health, your sleep, and your clarity. Because the man who doesn't train his emotional discipline will always live in reaction. He'll be calm when the world is easy and chaotic when the world isn't, and the world is rarely easy. I used to believe I was just wired to be impatient. Every little delay would agitate me. Traffic, slow Wi-Fi, and an email without a thank you. It didn't take much. I'd blame the situation. I'd blame other people. But I never looked inward. That changed the night I reread an argument I had over text. I scrolled back through my own words, angry, sharp, over the top, and I felt something unexpected, embarrassment. Not because I lost the argument, but because I lost myself in the process. That night, I started journaling, not in some poetic way, but just to track the moments when I lost my calm. And over time, a pattern emerged. I wasn't triggered by major things. I was triggered by the small, daily disruptions, the same things every man faces. And that's when I realized calm is not what you find in quiet spaces. Calm is what you bring to chaotic ones. The Stoics knew this. They understood that emotional stability doesn't arrive by accident. It's earned. They didn't wait until a crisis hit to develop clarity. They practiced clarity every day through reflection, self-discipline, and conscious observation. They didn't say, "I'll be calm when things get better." They trained to be calm so they could face things when they got worse. That mindset is what we need now more than ever. In a world addicted to speed, opinions, and instant reactions, the man who practices calm becomes rare and powerful. And the practice is simpler than most think. It begins with awareness. Start by noticing when you feel your emotions shift. Track it, write it, don't judge it, just name it. Then visualize what a calm version of you would do differently. That gap between what happened and what you wish you had done is your training ground. You don't need to be perfect. You need to be consistent. Because calm doesn't show up magically when life gets hard. It shows up when you've trained for it during the small tests. The late coffee, the missed call, the misunderstood message. These are the emotional push-ups no one sees, but they build the muscle you'll rely on when the real storm hits. The man who trains his calm daily doesn't fear pressure. He walks into it grounded, unshaken, and clear. Not because the world changed, but because he did. Calm isn't born, it's built. And the building begins now, before the next trigger, before the next moment tests you. Start tonight. Pick one moment you wish you had handled better. Write it down, then write how you'll handle it next time. That's not journaling, that's mental discipline. That's how you rewire your reactions and reclaim your strength. 3. The one who speaks last leads. Use silence as your weapon. There's something unsettling about a man who doesn't react. In a room full of raised voices and racing thoughts, he sits still. He listens, he waits. And when he finally speaks, every head turns, not because of volume, but because of presence. In our world, silence is misunderstood. It's often mistaken for weakness, passivity, or a lack of opinion. But in truth, silence, when chosen deliberately, is one of the most powerful forms of emotional discipline. It's a weapon that doesn't attack, yet commands. A shield that doesn't block, yet deflects chaos. And in high-pressure situations, it becomes the tool of true leaders. I've seen this play out in boardrooms and family gatherings, in heated debates and quiet confrontations. There's always someone who wants to dominate the room, who thinks speed, aggression, and verbal dominance equals control. But the man who leads is not the one who speaks first. It's the one who listens fully, pauses deliberately, and chooses his words like a craftsman, not a fighter. I once sat in a meeting where a colleague launched a direct attack on an idea I had presented. His voice was sharp, his tone dismissive, and his intention clear: discredit and provoke. Everyone turned to me, expecting retaliation. I felt the urge rise, tight in my chest, loud in my mind, but I paused. I looked at him. I let the room sit in that tension a little longer, and then I spoke, not to defend, not to attack, but to redirect. If there's a specific concern, I said, I'd be glad to hear it after the meeting so we can strengthen the plan. That moment didn't win applause. It didn't silence him, but it shifted the energy. I wasn't pulled into the storm, I anchored it. This is the strength of restraint, not just in withholding words, but in owning your emotional space. The Stoics taught that silence is not the absence of action, but the space that allows wisdom to emerge. When you speak too soon, you surrender the chance to understand. When you speak without thinking, you reveal more than you intend. But when you delay your response, you invite clarity, you expose the noise, and you speak from a place of grounded certainty. And people notice, because silence, used with intention, disrupts the rhythm of reaction. It makes people uncomfortable, but also draws their attention. It forces them to face the weight of their own words. It reveals who's calm and who's desperate for control. Most men speak to protect their pride. Few pause to protect their presence. But those who do, who embrace silence as a form of command, rise naturally into positions of respect. And it's not because they speak less, it's because they speak better. They speak after they've listened. They speak from stillness. They speak only when they know what they say will move something forward, not just fill the air. This is how emotional strength becomes visible, through restraint, through timing, through intentional silence. And it's not something you wait to use in high-stakes moments. You practice it in daily life, in arguments, in misunderstandings, in everyday tension. The next time someone throws a cheap shot, resist the need to fire back. Pause. Let your silence speak first. If you must reply, do it with precision, not emotion. Speak slowly. Speak clearly. Speak last. Because when you control the timing, you control the tone. And when you control the tone, you lead the room. Calm isn't just how you feel, it's how you move, how you respond, how you hold space without being shaken. And in a world addicted to noise, the man who chooses silence becomes unforgettable. He becomes the mirror. He reflects without reacting, and in doing so he becomes the one others follow. 4. Restraint is the ultimate display of strength. Don't take the bait. There's a special kind of strength in the man who refuses to be baited. When provoked, he doesn't lash out. When challenged, he doesn't collapse. He simply chooses not to respond, not out of fear, but out of power. In a world where everyone is ready to react, quick to argue, and desperate to be right, restraint becomes rare. And what's rare becomes valuable. Real strength isn't in how fast you clap back. It's in how calm you stay when every part of you wants to explode. The louder the noise, the more powerful your silence becomes. The man who can absorb provocation without losing his center is a man who cannot be controlled. He doesn't give away his energy to every cheap insult or snide comment. He doesn't waste time proving he's unshakable, because his restraint proves it for him. I've seen it in the smallest places: a grocery store line, a parking lot, a crowded elevator. Someone says something just to stir the fire, expecting you to play their game, but you don't. You smile, you nod, you go back to your day, and suddenly they're left with nothing. No reaction, no drama, no power over you. That's the power of restraint. It flips the dynamic completely. Most people throw emotional darts because they're hurting, frustrated, or craving attention. When you react, you validate them. You make their chaos your own. But when you stay still, when you respond with nothing but presence, you expose their desperation without saying a word. You don't need to raise your voice to show you're strong. You don't need to explain yourself to feel in control. You don't need to win the moment to win the day. The Stoics understood this. They taught that the highest form of mastery isn't action, it's self-command. It's knowing you could strike. but choosing not to. It's having the perfect comeback, but letting it die on your tongue. It's recognizing that some fights are invitations to lower yourself, and you decline. Because your peace is worth more than your pride. And pride, when wounded, always seeks revenge. But peace seeks nothing. It simply remains. That's the kind of calm that breaks cycles, that ends conflicts before they begin, that teaches without preaching. When you refuse to take the bait, you don't just avoid escalation, you send a message. You don't decide who I become today. That's not passive, that's power. And power doesn't need noise to be felt. It radiates from stillness. It travels through silence. It's written in how you hold your gaze, how you manage your breath, how you choose to walk away without losing an ounce of dignity. But this kind of restraint isn't automatic. It takes training. It starts with small moments, moments when no one's watching. You're cut off in traffic, you're talked over in a meeting, someone rolls their eyes at you. Your instinct is to react, to bite back, to reclaim control. But you already have it. You're already in control if you choose to be. Try this. The next time someone pushes you, don't respond immediately. Pause, smile, nod, say nothing. Let them carry their energy alone. Let them hear the echo of their own drama without your voice adding to it. It may feel uncomfortable at first. You may think you've let them win. But time will show otherwise. Because real authority doesn't shout. It doesn't argue. It holds its ground quietly. And that quiet is what people remember. In a world addicted to reaction, the man who chooses restraint becomes the one everyone watches. Not because he dominates, but because he refuses to be dominated. He becomes the example. Not by force, but by emotional self-mastery. So the next time someone tries to pull you into the mud, don't get dirty. Stand tall, stay still, walk on. Not because you're weak, but because you're free. 5. Become the emotional thermostat, not the thermometer. You've seen it happen. One person walks into a room with bad energy, and the entire mood shifts. What was once calm becomes tense. Voices grow sharper, people grow colder, and suddenly everyone is reacting to someone else's chaos. Most people live this way, absorbing the emotional temperature around them, reflecting it back without realizing it. They become thermometers, sensitive to changes, controlled by the environment. But there's another way to live. There's a different kind of presence. It's the man who sets the tone, not the one who echoes it. He's the emotional thermostat. He walks into a heated room and cools it down. He enters a space filled with anxiety, and without needing to say much, people breathe easier. Not because he commands with words, but because he's mastered his inner climate. And that mastery begins with one decision: to stop reacting and start leading energy instead. You can't lead a conversation, a team, or a household if you're constantly adjusting yourself to everyone's mood. You must choose your state before others try to choose it for you. That means waking up and setting your intention for the day, not just your to-do list, but your emotional foundation. Calm, alert, grounded, clear. When you don't choose that state in advance, you fall into whatever others project onto you. Their stress becomes yours. Their urgency becomes your anxiety. Their anger becomes your confusion, and soon you find yourself exhausted, not because life is hard, but because you never decided how to show up in it. I remember a meeting where emotions were running high. One person raised their voice, another cut someone off. Everyone else started spiraling into the same pattern, except one man. He didn't speak often, he didn't need to. He sat still, took notes, and when asked to comment, he spoke slowly, directly, without matching the noise in the room. His calm broke the cycle. People stopped, listened. The energy shifted, and he hadn't raised his voice once. That's what real influence looks like, not commanding others, but commanding yourself. Stoic philosophy teaches that external events don't control us. Our interpretations do, and emotions like fire only grow when you feed them. So if someone comes to you angry, you can either mirror that anger or contain it. If someone is frantic, you can either absorb their chaos or become the stillness that interrupts it. And the difference always comes down to discipline. The practice begins before the pressure arrives. Each morning, decide who you want to be emotionally. Write it down if you have to. Choose a state that strengthens you, something like resilience, presence, or clarity. Throughout the day, when life pulls you away from it, pause and reset. Say it in your mind: I set the tone. and act from that place. Don't underestimate how much of life is influenced by emotional energy. People don't always remember what you said, but they always remember how they felt around you. If you walk around constantly mirroring the moods of others, you'll never build trust. But if you become the one who stays anchored, especially when things get tense, people will instinctively turn to you. That's how leadership is earned quietly, without titles or status. It's in how you walk, how you breathe, how you carry pressure without crumbling. When the room gets louder, you get quieter. When others lose clarity, you gain it. And when the world is volatile, you become the stable one. Not by accident, but by design. Because you decided not to be a thermometer. You decided to be the thermostat. You decided to choose your emotional frequency before the world chose it for you. And that choice, made daily, changes everything. It gives you control, it gives you calm, and over time, it gives you respect, because people trust what's steady. And the steady man, he sets the temperature for every room he walks into. 6. Don't win the argument and lose yourself. Pick your battles wisely. It's tempting, isn't it, to correct someone when they're wrong, to show them the facts, to make them feel the weight of your logic and walk away knowing you won. But at what cost? Many people spend their days trying to prove something, online, at work, at dinner tables, chasing the high of being right while slowly losing the peace they once had. It happens quietly. One comment here, a heated message there, an argument that leaves you exhausted, distracted, and emotionally drained. And all for what? I've been there. A relative posted something outrageous on social media. I felt my blood rising. I started typing a rebuttal so sharp, so airtight, it could cut through steel. I had screenshots, sources, and a sense of moral superiority. But then I paused. I asked myself, will this matter in 5 years? The answer was a quiet no. I deleted the message. An hour later, I couldn't even recall the original post. That was my lesson. Peace often comes not from winning, but from walking away. Stoicism teaches this clearly. Not every challenge needs to be answered. Not every battle is worth the scar. True strength lies in restraint, in choosing where to invest your energy. If you react to every provocation, you're not in control. Your triggers are. And when your emotional reactions become predictable, manipulators win. Because they don't need to defeat you logically. They just need to get a rise out of you. They win the moment you lose yourself in the noise. Being stoic isn't about being passive or weak. It's about choosing which fire is worth feeding. Some flames only burn you when you fan them. Arguments, especially the petty kind, rarely lead to change. They often deepen resistance. But silence, indifference, a calm disengagement, that's where power hides. People don't expect you to walk away. They expect a fight. So when you refuse to be pulled in, when you choose emotional detachment over emotional reactivity, you confuse them, you disarm them, you reclaim yourself. Picking your battles means understanding what truly matters. If it won't shape your character, protect someone you love, or align with your core values, let it go. Let others chase temporary victories. You're here for long-term clarity. Emotional self-mastery means you ask better questions before you act. Ask yourself, does this situation align with my peace? Will this debate bring me closer to the person I want to become? Or is it just a distraction disguised as a duty? Most conflicts are ego traps. They bait your pride, your need to be seen, your need to feel smart. But ego is a fragile guide. It pulls you into storms you should have walked around. And you don't have unlimited emotional energy. Every argument you enter is a cost. Every reaction, a withdrawal from your inner balance. The Stoics knew this. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You always own the option of having no opinion." It wasn't apathy. It was a decision to protect clarity. And clarity is power. When you waste less time on nonsense, you see what matters with sharper focus. You speak less, but your words carry more. You fight fewer battles, but the ones you do fight, you win with calm precision. So the next time someone challenges you, insults you, or throws bait your way, take a breath. Don't rush to defend. Ask, will this matter in 5 years? If not, don't let it steal 5 minutes from today. That's not weakness, that's wisdom. And it's how you stop bleeding energy into every conflict that calls your name. Because peace is not the absence of noise, it's the refusal to dance with every fool who shouts your name. And the more you practice that, the more unshakable you become. Not by proving others wrong, but by proving to yourself that your calm cannot be touched. 7. Live like a fortress. Structure your life so chaos can't shake you. Calm isn't something you summon in the heat of the moment. It's something you build long before the storm. It doesn't appear magically when the world presses on your nerves. It shows up only if you've laid the foundation. Think of your life as a fortress. If it's built with intention, it stands firm no matter who knocks at the gate. But if it's thrown together carelessly, every gust of pressure breaks a wall. I've seen this firsthand, in myself and others. Two people wake up to the same bad day. Missed appointments, aggressive emails, rude strangers, mounting stress. One explodes. The other flows through it with steady grace. What made the difference? The structure of their life. The first jumped out of bed, reached for their phone, scrolled through chaos, skipped breakfast, and rushed into the world already overwhelmed. The second woke early, stretched quietly, breathed deeply, set an intention for the day, and gave their mind space before taking on the world. That's the difference between living on defense and building your day like armor. Stoicism teaches that while you can't control what the world gives you, you can always control how you meet it. And that begins with how you structure your time, your energy, and your habits. Most people don't lose their calm because of one big event. They lose it because their lives are reaction machines. Notifications dictate their attention. Other people's urgency becomes their emergency. There's no buffer, no routine, no mental stillness. That's how you get shaken by living unprotected. But you don't need a mountain retreat to fix this. You need a deliberate routine, especially in the first hour of the day. That's when you either claim your mind or lose it to the noise. A fortress isn't built from grand gestures. It's shaped by small, consistent actions. Choose not to check your phone the moment you wake. Choose to move your body before your mind starts racing. Choose to sit in silence and remind yourself of who you want to be before the world tells you how to react. You are not just managing time. You are shaping mental clarity. And that clarity becomes emotional resilience. Because once your nervous system is grounded, the outside chaos feels distant. It can scream and you won't echo it. That's the power of structure. You become the calm, not the storm. The mistake people make is believing calm is passive. But living like a fortress is not passive. It's one of the most active disciplines there is. It requires you to say no when the world says scroll, to protect your morning like sacred ground, to prioritize internal strength over external speed. Calm people are not lucky, they're prepared. They've trained their thoughts, they've rehearsed their reactions, they've built quiet rituals that restore emotional control. This isn't self-help fluff, it's mental training, and it works. Because when things fall apart, you don't. Your stability becomes contagious. Others feel it, they lean on it. And in a world of endless triggers, that kind of grounded presence is a rare power. So build your life like a fortress. Don't wait for chaos to remind you of your gaps. Seal them now, with silence, routine, breath, and boundaries. You don't need control over the world. You only need control over how you show up to it. And if you build that version of yourself every morning, you'll stop fearing the storm, because you've already become the place where it breaks. In a world that constantly provokes you, true power lies not in loud reactions, but in emotional detachment, calm confidence, and inner clarity. Every moment you choose stillness over chaos, structure over impulse, you're not just avoiding conflict, you're mastering yourself. This is the Stoic way. Not cold indifference, but deliberate control. When you stop reacting to every disrespect, when you no longer chase closure or validation, you begin to reclaim your energy. You become the kind of person who walks away without drama, who protects peace with quiet strength. Remember, you don't have to respond to every noise. Silence is a weapon, detachment is protection, and calmness, when practiced daily, is the mark of real strength. If you've ever felt the weight of emotional reactivity or struggled to stay grounded under pressure, take this as your cue to reset. Start small. One pause, one breath, one boundary. Now we'd love to hear your story. How have you learned to stay calm in difficult situations? What techniques help you hold your ground? Share in the comments below, and let your experience inspire others on this same path towards self-mastery.